The 14th of March, the Ukraine Media Center is on air. Your anchor is Svetlana Cheparenko. We are talking about the market of medicines in Ukraine and why the prices are rising. We will also talk about the politics of the state. We are talking to Mr. Petro Bahriy. Sir, all the Ukrainians have seen and felt a dramatic increase of prices for medicines. Everyone is aware that these prices are going up on a steady formation. What are the factors that are driving the prices high in terms of domestic and international manufacturing? My point is that, unfortunately, the prices are going up not only for medicines, not only in Ukraine, but all the kinds of products internationally. The things to be factored in are multifaceted. The war, of course, the logistics are all impacting these prices. You will know that over the last years of war, we have seen the price of dollar in Ukraine, which also impacts the stable work of the manufacturing in Ukraine, energy sector, the investments in Ukraine in terms of building our own facilities for electricity generation and other market sectors. All these, at the end of the day, make up a whole picture. In addition, the market situation also is impacted by the network of Ukrainian pharmaceutical shops in terms of the marketing strategies, in terms of pharmacies and drugstores. How do they reflect the prices, and what is the proportion of the cost of the unit and the prices, the price tags that we see at the drugstores? Do you see any features of the monopoly in this market? As far as monopoly is concerned, I am the wrong person to ask. You see, we have an antitrust committee of Ukraine, but when we talk about the manufacturers, we have 118 licenses on the market. Granted that Ukrainian market is a generic market, there are unpatented medicines where they were patented. So the competition in this country is very high. It's a very real competition. As for the distribution networks, we have more than 300 licenses for wholesale here in Ukraine, but in reality we have two distributors that are occupying about 80% of the market. These are well-known international companies working in the country. Why has it happened? Because these companies, unlike others, are investing into the capacity of warehouses, and that's why we have seen the best system of distributions in the country. Let us be honest. Any corner of this country, any settlement or village, whether near the front line or otherwise in the Carpathian regions, our Ukrainian distributors will take at least as maximum 24 hours or a half a day's time to get the medicines delivered. This is due to the work of these two distributors. These are highly professional people. They have warehouses. They have a lot of facilities throughout the country, so their logistics is quite effective. And of course, they occupy quite a share of the country. I don't see any menacing features here. I think that they comply with the antitrust Ukrainian legislation, and antitrust committee is following them for the prices not to be misused or abused. Our analysis shows that the surplus that they are putting on the price tags is not more than 10 to 12%. I don't see that there is any law that is broken in these terms. And, they have not been restricted, or their market share has been influenced. This is not our initiative. This is what the part of the parliamentaries has initiated, and that initiative was backed, and we have what we have. As for the drugstore networks, we have 5 of these networks that are having about 75 to 85% of the market. That is to say, the competition is there. This is highly competitive network. All these networks are following their own market politics. And the sign of the high competition here is that you will see when you walk along the street in one building 2 or more drugstores, which is indicative of the cutthroat competition. They are fighting for the access to the drugstore. I mentioned that Ukrainian medicine market is basically generic, which is to say that different manufacturers are producing the same name, the generic name medicine. We are talking about the market contracts, and we are talking about here about the bonuses. The more you pay for the original manufacturer, the more access you will have to what we are having here in Ukraine as patients, and we are paying for that. This is the issue for the government to look into. We think this must be regulated. As for the state, we know about the presidential initiatives called 100 medicines, that the prices should be in decrease. And we see that we have seen different items that are really going down, and this is not that effective. Do you think that such initiative will impact the market? The discussion is going on that, yes, the prices have gone down on something that you don't really need. They're only medicine fringes, as it were. But, ladies and gentlemen, today the president has suggested what we are waiting for, the presidential initiative to bring the prices down for the most effective prices. You see, what we have seen so far are not necessarily things that people really need, including the ascorbic acid. This is just a fringe, but we're not talking about things that are that's really matter for the consumer. It's a matter for us to gauge and to influence what that list is composed of. But indeed, the manufacturers, starting the 1st of March current year, one of the items that has seen a 30% decrease in prices, not that they put a new price tag, but they also reviewed what they have in store, and they compensated these losses for the drugstores to make sure that the decrease in prices is effective and is working. Perhaps some drugstores have not delivered enough information because the manufacturer will not have a singular contract with all the thousands of drugstores. That is a real thing. They don't have direct contracts. But we've been trying to do just that. Perhaps some prices have not been reviewed, but believe me, this will make up less than 10% of the whole market. What we are seeing is that the Ukrainian citizens are now given the affordable prices. This is an unfinished work. We are continuing our efforts to impact the prices for about 200, 250 items where the prices are likely to go down. Perhaps not as much as a whopping 30%. Some will see a 40% decrease, some will see a 20%. But the prices going down, I go to the same point. This is a generic market. If some items are decreased in prices, this will force your competitor to do the same. This is a domino effect across the board, leading to the prices going down. Is it good for the customer? I think it's a good thing. Is it a good thing for manufacturers and plants and facilities? No. They will see losses. The Darnica manufacturer will see a decrease in proceeds in terms of billions worth of hryvnias. This will likely impact the investment policy of the company and will influence the salary that workers are receiving. Will see the cut-offs. But, 3 years of the war, we've seen the increase of our payments going down. We are all making offers to and donations to the Ukrainian armed forces. So we back this presidential initiatives. This is the first step on the way. Does that mean that there will be restrictions on the assortment of medicines? You see, this is a good question. No, this will not be a burden for the customer, because in parallel to this initiative, we have seen a governmental decree on the surplus regulation. In Ukraine, the regulator would regulate the surplus prices according to the strict list. Now we see those restrictions on all the medicines. Sometimes in the past, you would find a way out when some prices are regulated that you were likely to make up for elsewhere. Today it is impossible because the prices are regulated across the board. As for the generic market, what is the share on the market of the items produced here in Ukraine and elsewhere? Why do you think is it important for Ukraine to have her own medicine manufacturers? Ukraine is a pharmaceutical country. There is a tradition here. Up to 70% of the packaged medicines in natural terms are produced here in Ukraine. Ukraine is a world leader. We have about 32% of the medicines manufactured abroad. When in terms of money, the situation is on the contrary, where we have 65% of medicines produced elsewhere. This is always about competition. We are striving to increase our market share in the environment that we are living in, where countries are closing in and they are internally settling down their issues. Then we don't have a possibility to import medicines or other items. But we see that there is a place for a dialogue that is always there. Once the crisis is overcome, we are able to, and I'm not complaining here, but we are able to start a dialogue. Going back to my words about the Ukrainian market as a pharmaceutical market, Ukraine today is importing medicines to as many as, we are exporting as many as 73 countries. Compare that with the year of independence, 1991. we were only exporting to the former Soviet countries. Today, we are talking about 73 countries, and that trend is growing 20% yearly, which is to say we are a world leader. 20% increase is quite a good number. And we are not selling the natural resources. This is a high-tech item with a lot of scientific research that is put into that. This is science-intensive sphere. How has the industry changed in terms of the war? Have you been doing something specific for the army, for the armed forces, for the front? We started with the COVID, antiseptics and different medicines to treat COVID. We came up with the product right from the day one. We impacted the market and reacted in a blink of an eye. This is to say about the war effort. We are working with a close contact with the military, with the medicine arm of the Ukrainian armed forces. We know very clearly what is needed on the front, and we are very fast to respond. We are doing our best to make up for what the armed forces are needing. Approximately, what is the percentage of the manufacturers working for the Ukrainian armed forces? It's a good question. I promise I will delve into that, but I am not in a position to tell you that now. What are the forecasts for the industry in the year 2025? What changes are we in for, either negative or positive? We are hopeful that the changes, the ongoing changes, due to the new legislation and the presidential decree following the decree by the National Security and Defense Committee. It all has to do with the price formation policy. It is very important that we see a national catalog for the prices for the medicine items. When the producers are encouraged to get registered, then we'll talk about the distributor surplus prices for the drugstore networks, and our association wants this marketing strategy to be very strictly and very clearly defined. We are talking about the health of the nation, of the people. This is, at the end of the day, a matter of national security. We are paying for something that are paid for by 85% of the medicines, and people are entitled to know what is there in the package, and the factors that are there forming the prices must be very well clearly defined. This is what we are insisting on, and this is what we are working on. We talk about not the percentage of unclear figures that no one knows what has been influencing the prices. You see, we want to see what is the prices that are there in the specific drugstore. What's the policy there? We want to make sure that the drugstore is very clear about how much is affordable, what price is affordable, and what kind of money they want to make on it. The more transparent this market is, the more attractive it will be for the investor. There will be a trust growing on the side of the Ukrainian customer, including the Ukrainian manufactured medicines. When we don't see the market speculations and the price formation and price shaping politics that will ruin the traditional trust of the Ukrainian people for the Ukrainian manufacturers. I hope that this will be a great impetus towards growing of the market. Do you see any plans to broaden the export share? You've mentioned 72% 2%. The plans are there. Last year, together with the Ministry of Procurement, and I was talking to the minister in terms of backing different Ukrainian manufacturers' initiatives, including, you remember, Ukrainian grain initiative, and I said that exporting grain to Africa is good, but how better would it be to have seen a package of medicines that reads "Made in Ukraine"? This will put our country on the map, and I'm thankful to the minister. He said that was a good idea, and meeting the Ukrainian ambassadors and foreign ambassadors here in Ukraine, he mentioned that we want to work on the popularization of the Ukrainian pharmaceutical industry here and abroad. This will be a push that we will hope be broadening the Ukrainian share of the market. Guests, do you have questions to our guest? In case you do, no, it doesn't seem to be the case. Sir, I am very appreciative of your effort. I thank you for being invited here. I'm ready to cooperate with you. We've been talking about the situation on the market of medicines and why they are going up. The media center will resume its work on 11 o'clock p.m. We'll be talking about the fuel market in Ukraine. Stay tuned.